is the Microsoft Summer Intern 2009 Xbox 360. The only problem is that it's broken. This is such a cool and rare console. Some websites say that Microsoft asked them to not sell these, and I can say that this is the only one that I've ever seen for sale. It's a great one to add to my Xbox 360 collection, but I want to get it fully working. So let's plug it in and see what's wrong. Okay, we have an orange light on the power supply. Let's plug it in and see if that stays orange or if it goes to a different color. Okay, still orange, good. No lights on the Xbox. Okay, and power. Green light, good. And here we go. Looks like maybe we have a picture. There we go. All right, got it all set up. Picked an avatar that looks exactly like me. Now let's open the disc tray and see if it's gonna play a disc for us. Close. It's starting to read, but then it stops. And you can see it's not reading. It all just says open tray. So we know we have a disk drive issue here. Also, these have a tendency to have bad capacitors. So it's time to open this thing up. I wanna make sure this thing is reliable and fully works. Okay, let's start by removing the hard drive. I'm gonna get this piece up a little bit more so I can pry on it as we go. There we go. Okay, we have one off. I'm gonna put this foot back on so I don't forget about it. Shouldn't need that anymore. Shouldn't need that removed anymore. Now the other side. There we go. Now we can remove the faceplate. There we go. Oh, and we have a fresh one. This has never been opened before. That's always fun. Now I'm gonna loosen these tabs up, kind of get the front separated a little bit, and then we'll work on the back. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna use this tool to push on all these clips at once. There we go. And there we go. That is probably the hardest part of this whole thing. Now the eject button comes out. I'm just gonna push on this little tab right here. That'll help it lift up out of that. There we go. Now we can start removing screws. So first I'm gonna remove these silver screws. They kind of have like square shoulders. They're gonna be the really long screws and they will release that top case. I wanna get that removed so we can set it aside and not do any damage to it or scratch it or anything. That artwork on the front is really nice. Okay, and that should be loose now. There we go. Okay, now we can set this aside somewhere safe, like, you know, on the floor. Totally won't knock that over later. And looking in initially, these capacitors all look great, so no problems there so far. That's good. I'm just gonna tear this whole thing down so we can just inspect the whole thing just to make sure it's really nice inside. To do that, we need to take out a whole bunch more screws.
Big changes are happening here at TronicsFix. We're setting up a new recording studio for our special projects. And at the heart of it all, this massive standing desk from Desky. Desky sent us this beauty, and it's the new centerpiece of our studio. Assembly was quick and beginner friendly. Everything we needed came right in these boxes, and the clear instructions made it hassle-free. Here's what makes it stand out. Integrated cable and power channel so we can power up to 9 devices with one plug. A rock-solid dual motor design that lifts up to 300 pounds and stays stable even at max height. Bluetooth controller with app connectivity, RGB lighting, and 4 memory presets.
Ah, so this is the new boss of the studio, huh?
Pretty much. Don't worry, I'll let you use it too, if you ask nicely.
Yeah, okay. Guess I better get on the schedule then.
The sustainably sourced wood and sleek finish give the whole space a modern, professional vibe. And the stability? Rock solid, even fully raised with all our gear. We're thankful to Desky for helping us bring this new space to life. If you're building your own dream setup, whether it's for gaming, creating, or just working, check out Desky. Links below for this exact model that we're using.
And with all those screws removed, we can start removing parts from the inside, starting with this disk drive. Always forget about this. Need to get this foil tape off. There we go. have two connectors down here. Carefully pull up on. There we go. There we go. I will need to do more work on this to get it working, but we'll do that in a few minutes. Let's inspect the rest of this board and make sure we know what we're working with. See if there's anything else that needs to be replaced while we're in here. And one more thing to remove before we can get the motherboard out. Okay, got it. Now we should be able to remove the board after I unplug the fan. There we go. Now we should be able to get this board out. There we go. And next we need to remove the heatsink so we can get to the thermal paste. Just need to remove these two clamps and then we can pull them off. We can then flip it over and remove these heatsinks. There's one, and there's the other one. So the nice thing here is I don't see any problems on this board. I don't even see any capacitors that are even close to being bad or leaky. So that's great news. We need to get new thermal paste in, then we can put the heat sinks back on, and then we can continue with repairs. I'm gonna first start by removing the thermal paste from the motherboard. This old thermal paste gets pretty sticky. So I'm not sure how well it's gonna work using a cotton bud like I am, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, once there's a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on here, it works pretty well. Okay, that part's finally done. I'm gonna do the heatsink part off camera, then we'll reapply the thermal paste and then move on to the next step. With those all nice and clean, we can add the perfect amount of thermal paste. There we go. There we go. And there we go. And now heat sinks go on. One here. And one right here. Now we can put the X clamps on. Okay, X clamps are installed. Let's get those fans cleaned. Okay, so these are the Delta fans. They're the louder ones. I might at some point get some Nidec fans to put in here or do a fan mod, but for now, I mean, I kind of want to keep this original, but what we can do is give these fans a good cleaning. They're not actually that dirty, but it's never going to hurt to clean them. And then also I can lube them up a little bit and hopefully that'll help. I'm just actually going to use some cleaning wipes. Can really get down in the blades with these, so these work pretty good for that. And I'm just going blade by blade and giving each one a little bit of a wipe down. Okay, got those ones. Now these ones. I'm just going to dry these off. Okay, so we have the fans clean. Now let's lube them up a little bit. So to do this, I'm going to lift these stickers up just enough. It doesn't have to be this far because that's as far as we can get down in here. I'm going to use this lubrication pen. This is actually watch oil, but I'm gonna put it down there where the shaft is and just squirt a little bit of lube in there. All right, now the shafts of the fan have been lubricated. It's pretty much as good as we can get for these fans. So to reinstall them, there's two locating pins right here. They go here and here. So put those in there and then just move it up just like that. Press it in, and there we go. Now we'll get this motherboard installed back into the chassis. Just like that. Get the fan plug back in so we don't forget. And now it's time to take a look at the disk drive. All right, we got 4 screws on the bottom. Just need to remove those and then we can get this plate off. And we're gonna be breaking the warranty seal for the first time ever on this old of a console. I've gotta say, that's pretty impressive. There we go. And I don't immediately see anything too concerning in here. Let's get the top metal plate off. And let's check the top side. Okay, really not too bad. Now it is possible we need a laser replacement, but I'm first gonna try cleaning it because that's a way easier fix. Now the other thing I like to do on these is grease these sliding rails, so I'm going to do that next. This isn't something that will, like, if your disk drive isn't working, this likely isn't something that will fix it, but it can just help this tray slide out smoother and better and faster, so I like to do it anyway. And I don't want grease up here where the disk is. And I'm not putting very much on, just a little bit, because it doesn't need very much. Okay. That's pretty good for there. Next, I want to re-grease this metal rail here and this one over here. Also with not very much, just a little bit. If you put too much on here, then you get grease kind of flying all around inside here. And that's not what you want on your laser or your discs or anything like that. So, okay, there we go. I do just want to look at the underside of this board and just make sure that's all fine. So on the bottom of this board, there is these two capacitors. I don't see any problems with them, but I'm actually just going to replace them because we've already got it open and this drive is not reading disks. So I don't see any other problems. The only other likely problem is the laser, but let's get these capacitors replaced and then we can put it all back together and test and see if that fixed it. So I'm going to use some hot air and heat on the backside and pull the capacitors through once that solder is melted enough. And it's almost there. There we go. There's the other one. Now with that done, we can bring some flux in. Flux up these joints right here. And I'll come in with some nice fresh solder. Solder each one down. Just like that. I have a little too much solder on there, so I'm going to bring in some wick. Get a little bit of that off. There we go. And after all that, those two are supposed to be connected. I should have known. Okay, a little more flux. Now the solder. There we go. Now I'll just cut these legs off. Just like that. Clean up my mess of flux. And there we go. Two brand new capacitors. And now back together with the disk drive. This does not want to... Oh no. These capacitors are too tall. That's why these ones are so short. Oh boy. Okay, you know what? I know what I can do. I'm going to remove these, put two more in here, and then we'll just fold them over. There's plenty of room to fold them over in this tray right here. So that's what we're going to do. Now I don't want to ruin these capacitors. They're still good. Okay, there's one. Two. All right, now we just want to put these new ones in just enough for it to be able to connect the solder. Just a little bit more. Just like that. Okay, that. And then this one, same thing. Okay. They probably don't even need to be that tall. So what I'm going to do is actually, they just need to be tall enough that I can fold them over like that. Okay, I think that'll work for that one. And then this one just needs to be tall enough, fold it over like that. Okay, I think that'll work. Now we'll solder these back on. Okay, now let's test fit it. There we go, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, now we're back in business. That all fits in there very nicely, just how it should. All right. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna hook up the ribbon cables and get this thing back together, and then we can get it installed into the console. With all those ribbon cables installed, we can put the top metal piece on. There we go, just like that. And then the bottom metal piece, just like that. Then we have 4 screws, and it's ready to go into the console. But is all that work going to be enough to get this working, or does it need a new laser? The only way to know that is to get it installed and test it again. And here we go into the chassis. Gotta plug the cables in first, because it's just easier that way. Oh, but we gotta put this piece in first. Come on. Fan shroud. And then the disk drive. Let me get this little silver piece on the edge installed. There we go. That fell out when I took it out. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. And I do want to clean this off well before I put the covers on. It's just easier to clean that way. This is going to look good when we're done. And then top piece goes on. That's not how it goes. And then top piece goes on, just like that. Now we can put a bunch of screws in. But first, the power button. Now the top case can go on, just like that. And then the screws go in. And with those screws in, we can install the eject button. Forgotten that more than once. Okay, good. Now before I put that bottom case on, I do want to test this because once I snap that back together, I don't want to have to take it back apart in case something doesn't work. So let's give it a test. Disc tray open. It does all turn on, that's good news. Disc tray closed. Uh-oh, it's not spinning up. So the disk drive still doesn't work, which means we got to take it apart and figure out why. Yeah, judging by the sound of the disk drive, it's starting to spin up and then it'll spin back down and it's just not reading at all. I think it's probably the laser, and luckily I do have a replacement, so hopefully that's all it takes to fix it. So I have the disk drive out. One thing I want to test before I replace this laser is the potentiometer. It should be between, the lowest is about 3, and we don't really want it to be above 4. It can be above 4, some of them are, but we have 3.8. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is lower that a little bit and see if that helps us out any. Just gonna turn it just like a tiny, tiny bit. We'll see how much change that makes. We're already at 3.0. That probably was actually a little bit too much. So I'm gonna go up just a little bit. If it could be like 3.2, 3.3, I'd be comfortable with that. 3.4, let's go down just a tiny bit. .196. We'll call it 3.2. Okay, now I'm gonna put this together enough just to test this, and we'll see if that's enough to get it to work. And disk drive is back in. Let's give it a try. Disk is in. Still not spinning up. So that means it's time for a new laser. And when I say new, I mean the best used one I could find on eBay. And with the disk drive board removed, we can get to the drive itself. Got 4 screws holding it in. And we just need to remove this whole laser carrier or laser assembly. All right, there we go. So this is the replacement directly from eBay. Is it the right one? It looks right. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's check and see what this potentiometer says. And we have 2. So this one, I mean, it almost has to have been lowered. Like from the factory, it's usually like 4-ish, I think. I'm a little skeptical. It supposedly works though. I'm going to install it just as is, and we'll see if it actually works. So we'll take off this white piece, just like that. And then we need to remove this bar so it can slide out from the laser. And then I'm going to remove this one, or at least loosen it. We need to get this all loose enough so we can slide this out. I could bend that down, but I don't really want to do that. Okay, there we go. Now we need to remove this one and slide this one on. That goes in just like that and just like that. I am pretty skeptical that this is even going to work with how that laser is adjusted. If it does, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it might not work that long because there's a lot more power going to the laser than really should be. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see if the thing even works first. And the thing that's really annoying is I bought this a long time ago so I'd have some stock, and I'm pretty sure that the return period has ended on it. So if it doesn't work, there's not really anything I can do about it. Okay, disk drive is back installed. Here we go with the disk inside. It like spun a little bit and now it won't even spin. Doesn't even try to spin. So that laser is definitely no good. That's so frustrating when you buy something on eBay that supposedly works and it doesn't work, and then you wait, I don't know, it's been months since I bought that, so there's literally nothing I can do. Let me look around and see if I have any more to fit in here and see if we can get this thing working. So after looking everywhere, I think I found a laser that might work. This came out of a non-working Xbox I just have sitting around the shop, so I don't know if it's gonna work, but it's really my only chance other than trying to find another one on eBay, which obviously I don't wanna do, but it's really dirty. So I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up. Shouldn't take too long, and then I'll get it installed into this disk drive and we'll be able to test it and see if this will work. So all of this came out of just this laser assembly. That's insane. But now that it's all clean, let's get it installed into our disk drive assembly and then we can see if this thing's gonna work. I don't have any more Xbox 360s around here to take apart, so this is basically our last chance. Okay, eject. Eject works. Disk in. Okay, tray closing. Come on. Good so far? Oh, it's spinning up. Come on. And there we go. It's totally working. So now the disk drive is fixed, let's get this all put back together and have a look at it with it all clean. And we got it mostly clean. I really want to get this dark black mark off right here because it's really distracting. Okay, I don't usually do this. I'm gonna use a little bit of a metal pick to kind of get in some of those little crevices there. Not pressing hard, this is just very gentle pressing. Oh, that's working so good. Just a little bit more. Down in here. Okay, it's definitely not perfect, but I think that's as good as we're gonna get it because I don't want to cause any permanent damage on this thing. Just gonna give it a good clean here. I'm gonna go carefully over the graphics. Okay, we have it nice and clean. Now we're gonna give it a polish. Now we'll just kind of give it a wipe down after that. And look at that. That is beautiful. It is definitely not in perfect condition, but it's in really good condition. So I paid $300 for this. It's worth probably around $700. So even though the fix took quite a while, it was still totally worth it to bring this back to life. It's not worth quite as much as the Xbox I tried to fix that was worth $2,500. I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now if you want to come hang out with me over there and see if I could fix that one. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.